The text message came at 11:47 p.m. on a Wednesday. I was in my home office in Denver, going over quarterly reports for my consulting firm. My wife Sarah was upstairs reading. The house was quiet except for the soft hum of the air purifier I'd installed last month. It was the kind of peaceful evening routine I had spent 5 years building for myself. The notification sound was subtle, designed not to disturb. Everything in this house, from the smart lighting to the custom security system, was chosen deliberately. It represented a life I had earned through careful planning and hard work. A life where boundaries meant something. Before we dive in, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below telling me where in the world are you watching from. I picked up my phone, expecting a late email from a client. Instead, I saw a message from my mother, Linda Chun. The preview showed only the first few words, "Great news about the house." My stomach dropped. I opened the message. The full text made my blood run cold. "Great news about the house while you're in Europe. Marcus can finally move in next week. Dad already has the garage cleared out for his stuff. He's so excited to have a place to get back on his feet. See you when you get back. Love, Mom." I read it 3 times. Each time, the words became more surreal, more impossible. They were talking about my house, my home, the place Sarah and I had saved for, bought, and made our sanctuary. And they were planning to install my 28-year-old brother in it while I was traveling for work. Without asking, without permission, like it was their decision to make. I sat there staring at the screen, my mind racing through the implications. Marcus, my younger brother, had been a perpetual disappointment. He dropped out of college twice, lost jobs for showing up late, and had been living in our parents' basement for 3 years. He was charming, irresponsible, and had mastered the art of making his failures sound like temporary setbacks. My parents enabled him completely. They called it family support. I called it financial and emotional parasitism. But this wasn't about Marcus. This was about something much bigger. The message revealed how my parents saw me, how they saw my marriage, how they saw the life I'd built. To them, I wasn't an independent adult with boundaries. I was still their child, and my resources were family resources. My home was family property. They hadn't asked because, in their minds, they didn't need to ask. Sarah appeared in the doorway of my office, her reading glasses pushed up on her head. "Everything okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." I handed her my phone without a word. She read the message, her expression shifting from confusion to disbelief to anger. "They're planning to what now?" Her voice was carefully controlled, but I could hear the fury underneath. Sarah and I had been married for 5 years. She knew my family dynamics better than anyone. She'd watched me struggle to establish boundaries with parents who viewed my success as a family achievement they were entitled to share. "They think they can just move Marcus into our house," I said, my voice hollow. "While we're in London. Like we're running a halfway house for underachieving adult children." Sarah sat down across from me, her lawyer instincts kicking in. "Did you give them keys?" "Any kind of access. Emergency key only," I said. "For real emergencies. Not for housing my deadbeat brother." She was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then she looked at me with her expression I'd learned to recognize. It was the look she got when she was about to suggest something brilliant and slightly dangerous. "How long until your London trip?" 2 weeks, I said. "Why?" "Because," she said, a slow smile spreading across her face, "we're going to set a trap, and your family is going to walk right into it." The plan Sarah devised was elegant in its simplicity. We would let my parents believe their scheme was working perfectly. We would go to London as planned, but we would also install a comprehensive security system that would document every moment of their illegal entry into our home. More importantly, we would give them exactly what they claimed to want, a chance to help Marcus. We would just make sure the help came with consequences they never saw coming. Phase 1 was preparation. I called my parents the next day, my voice carefully neutral. "Got Mom's message about Marcus," I said to my father. "That's quite a surprise." My father, Robert Chun, launched into his familiar speech about family obligations. Marcus was going through a rough patch. The basement wasn't good for his mental health. He needed a fresh start. A change of environment would help him find motivation. All the usual excuses wrapped in the language of parental concern. "We thought your place would be perfect," he said. "You and Sarah will be gone anyway. Marcus can house sit, keep an eye on things. It's really a win-win situation." The casual entitlement in his voice was breathtaking. They had convinced themselves this was actually a favor to us. I see, I said carefully. And you've already cleared this with Marcus? Of course. He's thrilled. He's already packing. This is exactly the push he needs to turn his life around. I let him talk. I made non-committal sounds. I didn't say yes, but I also didn't say no. The ambiguity was intentional. I wanted them confident, but not completely certain. I wanted them to proceed with their plan, but with just enough doubt to make them sloppy. Sarah, meanwhile, was busy with phase 2. As a corporate lawyer, she understood the importance of documentation. She contacted a security company that specialized in discreet surveillance. Within 3 days, our house was wired with cameras in every room, motion sensors, audio recording, everything fed to a secure cloud server that we could access from anywhere in the world. The system was invisible, professional grade, and completely legal since we were monitoring our own property. But the cameras were just the beginning. Sarah's real genius was in the details she added to the trap. She researched tenant rights laws in Colorado. She prepared legal documents. She even consulted with a friend who specialized in property law. If they're going to treat your house like a rental property, she explained, then we're going to treat this like an illegal landlord-tenant situation, with all the legal protections that implies. I didn't fully understand her plan yet, but I trusted her completely. Sarah was methodical, brilliant, and had never lost a case that mattered to her. This mattered to her because it mattered to me. 1 week before our London trip, my mother called with an update. Marcus had quit his part-time job at a grocery store. He said he needed to focus on his mental health and couldn't handle the stress of work while transitioning to a new living situation. In other words, he was planning to treat our house like a free hotel with no checkout date. He's just so grateful, my mother gushed. This is exactly what he needs. You're being such a good big brother. The manipulation was so transparent, it was almost comical. They were framing their invasion of my home as my generous gift to Marcus. They were rewriting the narrative in real time, casting themselves as the facilitators of my imaginary generosity. I made appropriate sounds and ended the call. Then I texted Sarah at her office. The trap is set. They're taking the bait. Our flight to London was on a Thursday morning. I kissed Sarah goodbye at the departure gate. She was staying behind to handle a major case. As my plane taxied down the runway, I received a final text from my father. Marcus is so excited. We'll get him settled this weekend. Don't worry about anything. Family takes care of family. By Saturday morning London time, the show had begun. I was sitting in my hotel room with my laptop, watching my security feeds with a mixture of fascination and disgust. At 10:15 a.m. Denver time, my parents' car pulled into my driveway. They had brought a U-Haul truck. Marcus emerged from the passenger seat with the swagger of someone who thought he'd just won the lottery. My father was directing him like a general commanding troops. My mother was taking photos with her phone, documenting what she probably saw as a heartwarming family moment. They used the emergency key to let themselves in. The first thing Marcus did was tour the house like he was shopping for real estate. He opened closets, tested the shower pressure, and even bounced on our bed to check the mattress quality. The entitlement was breathtaking. This wasn't a temporary arrangement in his mind. This was an upgrade to a lifestyle he felt he deserved. My father was already rearranging furniture in the living room to accommodate Marcus's gaming setup. A massive entertainment system, multiple gaming consoles, and a worn leather recliner that looked like it belonged in a college dorm room. My mother was stocking the refrigerator with food, chattering about how wonderful it would be for Marcus to have such a nice kitchen to learn to cook in. The most infuriating moment came when Marcus called his friends. I watched him give them a virtual tour via video chat, bragging about his new place. He showed them the home theater we'd spent months designing. He demonstrated the smart home features we'd carefully programmed. He even opened our bedroom door and joked about the master suite. He was performing ownership, claiming our life as his own. His friends were impressed. They wanted to come over for a party. Marcus, generous with property that wasn't his, immediately invited them for Saturday night. "We can finally have a real party," he said. "This place is perfect for it." I closed my laptop and called Sarah. She answered on the first ring. "How bad is it?" she asked. "Worse than we imagined," I said. "He's treating it like he just inherited a mansion, and he's planning a party tonight." There was a pause. Then Sarah's voice, cold and sharp as winter air. "Perfect. Let them get comfortable. Let them get sloppy. Tomorrow morning, we spring the trap." That night, While I tried to sleep in London, Marcus threw his housewarming party in my living room. Dozens of strangers filled my house. They used my kitchen, drank from my bar, and left trash throughout rooms I'd carefully designed. The security cameras captured everything. Underage drinking, someone smoking indoors, a fight that broke out near my home office. It was a nightmare, but it was also evidence. By Sunday morning, the house looked like a disaster zone. But Marcus and my parents were just getting started. Sunday was move-in day. My parents arrived with the rest of Marcus's belongings. Mismatched furniture, boxes of old clothes, and what appeared to be every piece of electronics he'd ever owned. They spent the day turning my home office into Marcus's bedroom and converting the garage into his personal hangout space. My father even installed a mini refrigerator without asking, drilling holes in the wall I'd painted 6 months earlier. The transformation was systematic and thorough. They weren't house-sitting. They were colonizing. By evening, Marcus was fully installed. He ordered takeout on my account. Somehow he'd gotten access to my delivery app passwords. He invited a girlfriend over. They treated my master bedroom like it was a hotel suite, using my bathroom, my towels, my personal space. From 4,000 miles away, I watched strangers living my life. But I wasn't angry anymore. I was coldly satisfied. Every violation was being recorded. Every boundary crossed was documented. Every casual act of disrespect was evidence in the case Sarah was building. They thought they were getting away with the perfect crime. They had no idea they were building their own prison. Monday morning brought the first surprise. Sarah, armed with a folder full of legal documents, appeared at my front door at 8 a.m. Marcus answered in his underwear, confused and still half asleep. "Who are you?" he mumbled. "I'm Sarah Chun," she said calmly. "And you're trespassing on my property." The interaction was captured in high-definition video. Marcus, realizing this was my wife, tried to charm his way out of the situation. He invited her in, as if he had the right to welcome visitors to her own home. He offered her coffee made with our coffee maker, using our mugs. The audacity was stunning. "There's been a misunderstanding," Sarah said, her voice professionally neutral. "This is my home. You were not invited here. You do not have permission to be here. I'm asking you to leave." Marcus, still confident in his parents' plan, laughed. "Come on, it's all family. Your husband said it was fine. His parents arranged everything." "My husband said no such thing," Sarah replied. "And his parents have no authority over this property. You are trespassing, and I am formally asking you to vacate immediately." That's when Marcus made his fatal mistake. Instead of apologizing and leaving, he got angry. He raised his voice. He said that Sarah was being unreasonable, that family should support each other, that I had agreed to this arrangement. Everything he said was a lie, and it was all being recorded. When Sarah remained calm and insisted he leave, Marcus refused. He said he'd been promised he could stay. He said he'd already quit his job and had nowhere else to go. He said Sarah couldn't kick him out because he was family. "Actually," Sarah said, opening her folder, "I can. And I am." She handed him a legal document. "This is formal notice of trespassing. You have 24 hours to remove yourself and your belongings from this property. If you refuse, I will have you arrested and pursued for criminal trespassing, breaking and entering, and property damage." Marcus stared at the document like it was written in a foreign language. His confidence cracked. He called my father in a panic. Within an hour, my parents were back at the house, this time facing Sarah instead of sneaking around behind my back. The confrontation was epic. My father tried his usual approach, authority mixed with guilt. He lectured Sarah about family loyalty. He said I had agreed to help Marcus. He said Sarah was misunderstanding the situation. My mother cried. She said they were just trying to help their son. She said they never meant any harm. She said families should stick together. Sarah listened politely to their entire performance. Then she opened her laptop. "Since you seem confused about this situation," she said, "let me clarify a few things for you." The first video she showed them was from the security cameras. It was my parents using the emergency key to enter the house. "This is breaking and entering," Sarah said calmly. "The emergency key was for emergencies only. Moving your son into our home without permission is not an emergency." The next video showed Marcus giving his friends a tour, claiming ownership of our property. "This is fraud," Sarah explained. "He's misrepresenting ownership of property that doesn't belong to him." Then came the party footage. Dozens of strangers in our house, underage drinking, property damage. "This is criminal negligence," Sarah said. "You allowed illegal activities to occur on property you had no right to access." My parents' faces went white as they realized the scope of what they'd done. But Sarah wasn't finished. She pulled out a thick folder of documents. "Colorado law is very clear about unauthorized occupation of residential property," she said. "What you've done constitutes multiple felonies: breaking and entering, criminal trespassing, property damage, and conspiracy to commit fraud." She laid out photo after photo of the damage: drill holes in the walls, stains on the carpet, broken items from the party. "The estimated damage is $8,000. That's felony-level property destruction." My father tried to backtrack. He said there had been a misunderstanding. He said they'd thought I had agreed. He said they were willing to pay for any damages. "There was no misunderstanding," Sarah replied. "David never agreed to any of this. You planned and executed an illegal occupation of our home. The evidence is comprehensive and undeniable." She opened her laptop again and showed them communications they'd sent to each other, planning the move-in while I was away. Sarah had accessed their emails through a legal information request, claiming potential criminal activity. The paper trail was devastating. Then came the final blow. Sarah pulled out one last document. "This is a cease and desist order," she said. "You are permanently banned from this property. Any future contact must go through my law firm. Any attempt to contact David directly will be considered harassment." She turned to Marcus. "You have 12 hours to remove your belongings and yourself from this house. If you're still here tomorrow morning, I will have you arrested." The police have already been briefed on the situation. The humiliation was complete and public. Sarah had invited a local news reporter to document the confrontation. The story of a family's illegal takeover of their son's home while he was traveling for work made statewide news. My parents, who had spent their lives caring about their reputation in their small community, became local pariahs. Marcus, who had bragged to his friends about his new place, became a laughingstock. The video of him being served legal papers in his underwear went viral in their social circles. But the real consequences were just beginning. Sarah filed criminal charges. The district attorney, seeing an opportunity to make an example of entitled family trespassing, pursued the case aggressively. My parents were charged with conspiracy, breaking and entering, and criminal trespassing. Marcus faced additional charges for property damage and fraud. The legal fees consumed their savings. My father had to take early retirement when his employer decided the criminal charges made him a liability. My mother's part-time job at a local charity ended when the board felt her arrest reflected poorly on their organization. Marcus, true to form, handled the crisis by making it worse. He gave an interview to a local blogger, claiming he was the victim of a family betrayal. He said I had promised him a place to live and then sicked lawyers on him when he took me up on the offer. The interview, full of easily disprovable lies, became additional evidence in Sarah's case. It also destroyed any remaining sympathy people might have had for him. The comments on the article were brutal. People called him entitled, delusional, and a disgrace to hard-working families everywhere. His girlfriend broke up with him. His friends stopped taking his calls. He became unemployable in their small town. From London, I watched the aftermath unfold with a mixture of sadness and satisfaction. Sarah sent me daily updates, photo evidence of Marcus removing his belongings under police supervision, legal documents filed with the court, and news articles covering the story. I felt no guilt. They had made their choices. They had violated my trust, invaded my home, and dismissed my boundaries as meaningless. The consequences were entirely of their own making. When I returned from London 2 weeks later, my house was restored to exactly the way I'd left it. Sarah had hired a professional cleaning service and a contractor to repair all the damage. She'd even had the locks changed and the security system upgraded. But more importantly, she'd established something that had been missing from my relationship with my family: consequences. The criminal case took 6 months to resolve. My parents pleaded guilty to reduced charges and received probation, community service, and a requirement to pay full restitution. Marcus, who initially tried to fight the charges, eventually accepted a plea deal that included anger management classes and a strict no-contact order. The financial cost of their scheme ended up being over $25,000 in legal fees, fines, and restitution. It was more money than Marcus had ever seen in his life, and it came out of my parents' retirement savings. The emotional cost was even higher. Their reputation in their community never recovered. They eventually sold their house and moved to another state, starting over in their 60s with nothing but the lessons they'd learned from underestimating their son. Marcus moved with them, still living in their basement at age 29, now with a criminal record that made employment even more difficult. The fresh start they'd wanted for him had become a permanent dead end. For me, the resolution brought a profound sense of peace. The fortress I'd built around my life and marriage was no longer just a defensive structure. It had become a statement of values. Sarah and I had protected what we'd built not through anger or revenge, but through the careful, methodical application of consequences. We had treated their betrayal like what it was, a business transaction gone wrong, with legal remedies and enforceable solutions. Our marriage grew stronger through the crisis. Sarah's brilliant handling of the situation showed me what true partnership looked like. She had protected our home, our boundaries, and our future with the same fierce intelligence she brought to her legal practice. We renewed our wedding vows on the first anniversary of the incident, not as a romantic gesture, but as a reaffirmation of our commitment to the life we'd chosen to build together. The Margaret Rodas Foundation reference from the original script inspired me to create something positive from the experience. Sarah and I established a legal aid fund for people dealing with family boundary violations. We provided resources for adults whose family members had overstepped legal or financial boundaries, offering both legal assistance and counseling. The fund helped dozens of people who, like me, had been treated as family property rather than independent adults with rights. 2 years later, I received a letter from Marcus. It was mailed to my office, respecting the no-contact order that applied to my home. The letter was an apology, sort of. He acknowledged that moving into my house without permission had been wrong. He said he understood why I'd been upset, but he also said he felt the legal consequences had been excessive, that family should have been able to work things out privately. He asked if we could move past this and rebuild our relationship. I showed the letter to Sarah. She read it twice, then looked at me with the same sharp expression I'd learned to trust. "He still doesn't get it," she said. "He's not apologizing for violating your boundaries. He's apologizing for getting caught. And he's asking you to pretend it never happened so he can do it again." She was right. The letter was just another manipulation attempt, wrapped in the language of reconciliation. Marcus still saw himself as the victim of my unreasonable response to his reasonable request. He had learned nothing from the consequences except that I was willing to enforce boundaries he didn't want to respect. I didn't respond to the letter. I filed it away with the other legal documents from the case, evidence of a mindset that prioritized comfort over accountability. Some people, I realized, never learn from consequences. They only learn to resent them. My parents never reached out directly. I heard through extended family that they occasionally asked about me, wondered how I was doing, expressed regret about how things ended up. But they never took responsibility for how things had started. In their version of events, they had tried to help their son, and somehow everything had spiraled out of control. They remained mystified by my reaction, unable to understand why I'd chosen legal action over family forgiveness. The gap between their perception and reality was a chasm too wide to bridge with apologies they were unwilling to make. Today, my life looks exactly like it did before their invasion attempt. Same house, same marriage, same career. But something fundamental has changed. I no longer carry the anxiety of wondering when my family would next try to violate my boundaries. They had tested those boundaries with the nuclear option, and they had been decisively repelled. The security system Sarah installed remains active, not because I expect another invasion, but because it represents something important, the willingness to protect what I've built. Sarah and I recently celebrated our 7th wedding anniversary. We had dinner at the same restaurant where we'd planned the trap that ended my family's scheme. As we sat at our table, I looked at this brilliant, fierce woman who had stood between my family and our life together. "Thank you," I said, "for teaching me that love isn't just about being there for someone. It's about being willing to fight for what you've built together." She smiled, the same dangerous smile I'd fallen in love with. They thought they were dealing with the pushover kid you used to be. They had no idea they were dealing with us. The trap we'd set had been more than a legal strategy. It had been a declaration that our marriage, our home, and our choices were not family property to be redistributed based on need or convenience. We had drawn a line, and we had defended it. My story isn't about revenge. It's about the power of consequences and the importance of treating boundary violations like what they are, violations that deserve proportional responses. My parents and Marcus had counted on family loyalty to protect them from accountability. They had miscalculated badly. The love that connects family members doesn't eliminate the need for respect. If anything, it makes that respect more important, not less. They had confused access with ownership, assumption with permission. The trap we set wasn't cruel. It was simply the natural consequence of treating other people's lives like your personal property.